Hi everyone! I've been away for way too long and I have a very good reason for that. I've got some exciting news. I'm actually pregnant with my second child. I have an older son who is 18 months old. I gave birth to him last year in February and I am pregnant again. Today I'm currently a little over 15 weeks pregnant, and already there are some major differences between this second pregnancy and my first pregnancy with my son Caspian. So just diving into the very first differences that I noticed was that with this pregnancy, I found out I was pregnant 1 week earlier than I found out with my first one. This time around, I already knew I was pregnant by 4 weeks pregnant, and with Caspian, my son, I found out that I was pregnant at 5 weeks. And the way I found out with both of them was just by taking those at-home pregnancy tests, those ones that you can just buy at your local Walgreens or CVS or at Target. I also had these strips that I bought off of Amazon that were way cheaper that pretty much do the same thing. They're not branded or anything, they just measure the HCG levels. And this time around, I was able to find out at 4 weeks, which is pretty early on, I would say. Another thing is that I remember that with Caspian, one of the initial signs that I knew something was off and something was very different with my body was that I had extreme breast pain, and it was very swollen early on during about weeks 6 and 7. But this time around, I did not notice any breast pain whatsoever. Maybe just felt like it was just slightly bruised, but other than that, not really anything. So sometimes I wasn't sure that I was actually pregnant. I couldn't believe it because the breast pain with my initial pregnancy was so bad that I thought that that would happen this time around, but maybe my body remembers something from the first pregnancy that it's just like, oh, you're just doing it again. For food cravings and aversions, this time around was very different than with my first pregnancy. With Caspian, I off the bat had an aversion to coffee, which is very odd for me because I love coffee. I live and breathe off of coffee. I love it for its taste, its texture, everything about coffee. I'm one of those diehards that drink coffee black, if it's good quality, of course. But with my first pregnancy, I absolutely couldn't even stand the smell of coffee, and I couldn't be near it, which was terrible because I had a lot of really good quality beans at home and just coffee pods for my Nespresso machine at home that I wasn't really going to be able to use. But this time around with my second pregnancy, I had none of that. I was able to drink coffee fine. I had my morning cup every day. I mean, there were times where just my overall nausea was bad, so I just didn't want to have anything, but other than that, I was able to down coffee. As for food aversions, with my first pregnancy, I absolutely hated any kind of fruits or vegetables. I only wanted to eat unhealthy foods such as very greasy burritos, fries, anything fried, just a lot of meat and carbs, just like sandwiches without any vegetable. I had to take it all out, and instant ramens. Those not very good for me. I was really worried that I wasn't getting good enough nutrients during my first pregnancy because I kept eating like a child that had no tolerance to any other food. So I was a little worried, but I made sure to take my prenatals and my firstborn came out perfectly healthy. This time around, I really craved a lot of fruits and vegetables along with the occasional unhealthy foods and chips and snacks and all that jazz, but I really intook a lot of vegetables and fruits, and I reached for it a lot, which was crazy to me because that was absolutely unheard of my first time around. Regarding my overall health this second time around, I would say there were some pretty big differences. One of the major differences that happened to me was that I actually got a yeast infection. I've never had a yeast infection before. I didn't even know that I had one, but I noticed something was really off. If you guys know what a yeast infection is, it's just like an overgrowth of fungus, down there, and it can cause extreme itching and a lot of swelling and just overall extreme discomfort. And at first I was just like, oh, it's nothing really bad, and then it progressively got worse throughout the week to the point where the discomfort and the itching was so bad I couldn't sleep, and I just had to make an appointment at my OBGYN because it just was so uncomfortable. And they prescribed some medicine. They told me that it's very common with women to get a yeast infection, and also even more common during pregnancy to have a yeast infection. So I felt a little bit relieved, but I was just so shocked because I've never experienced anything so annoying like this. You know, with my first pregnancy, I didn't get a yeast infection, nothing like that, nothing discomforting down there. So it was really, really, really annoying this time around. And another thing that's not annoying but was kind of scary this time around was that I experienced a lot of spotting during my first trimester. It was really scary because I would just kind of get random brown spotting, and you can definitely tell it was like old blood. And I was worried because one of the initial signs of a miscarriage is spotting. So I reached out to my OBGYN and we did some tests and everything looked good, so definitely relieved. But even after those tests, once in a while I would get spotting. And I will say though that I noticed that I got a lot of spotting after doing any kind of exercise. Like, I didn't even do any kind of extraneous exercise. It was just something as simple as going for a 30-minute walk, and then the next 2 days I would get spotting. So maybe I'm just really sensitive down there currently, I don't know, but it didn't seem like anything to be worrisome about because all my ultrasounds and scans came back perfect. The baby is absolutely healthy, so definitely something scary, but okay for now. Another difference with my overall body and health is that I definitely can feel my uterus stretching and growing a lot sooner this time around, and it's very painful and uncomfortable. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It almost feels like the baby's flutters, but like when the baby is like stretching against your uterus, or like it feels like my intestines are trying to like push out of my uterus, like forward through my belly, just kind of just extend or distend outwards, and I can feel that once in a while, usually in the late afternoons. I don't really know what it could be. Maybe it is just my body is used to having been pregnant before and is much more faster at expanding, but that part is very uncomfortable. And another thing is, this time around I noticed that I have to use the restroom, like go pee, a lot much sooner than I did with my first pregnancy, because with my first pregnancy I didn't have to go pee like every 20 minutes until about way at the end of the second trimester. But this time around I'm already having to do that. I already have to wake up in the middle of the night and run to the bathroom to pee. But I don't remember that happening so early at that point with Caspian, so that's something that I'm like, oh no, here we go again, but way earlier. Finally, the last major difference between the two pregnancies is that I'm gaining weight so much faster with this pregnancy than I did with Caspian. With Caspian, I didn't even gain a single pound until week 13. However, with this pregnancy, I already gained 8 pounds by week 15, which is now, which is crazy because, like I said, with my last pregnancy, it wasn't even a single pound until almost about this point. So I'm really shocked and I'm a little worried and concerned because I was really hoping that this time around I would control my weight better, because with my first pregnancy I gained a total of 40 pounds, which I did lose all of it except for just the belly flab, just around the belly waist area, but I did go back down to my pre-pregnancy weight the first time around, even though I had gained 40 pounds. But this time around I was hoping that I would be able to control my intake better and just really take better care of my body, because with my first pregnancy I really didn't. Like I said, I ate a lot of unhealthy foods. Exercise was out of the question until like late second trimester because I was so tired and I was working full-time and overtime a lot on the weekends. But this time my circumstances are different. I am working full-time, but I don't have to work on the weekends, so I was hoping I would get a lot more exercise in, but that's not happening because guess what? I have a toddler who likes to run around, and in Southern California nowadays it reaches over 100 degrees during the afternoon, and that's just not a good time for us to go exercising at all. Like, I hate the heat right now. Yeah, I haven't really been getting a lot of that exercise in, but honestly I don't think that's what is causing the weight gain. To be honest, I feel like the weight gain is caused from just me trying to stave off that nausea. I really think that this time around I know that what caused a lot of the morning sickness was that I was hungry all the time. With my first pregnancy, I was just nauseous. I didn't want to eat anything, but this time I know that being hungry actually makes your nausea worse. So I kind of kept eating because because I was scared of getting nauseous. But regardless, I still did get nauseous, but I was just really hoping that I wouldn't, so I ate a lot more. So that could be why I did gain a lot of weight. And also this time around, I'm showing a lot faster. Like I already look like how I was when I was 20 weeks pregnant with my first pregnancy, and it's so much harder to hide at work, for instance. I'm having to like wear clothes that try to hide my belly already because it's just popping out. It's becoming impossible to hide right now. But with my first pregnancy at 20 weeks pregnant, people were like, "What do you mean you're pregnant?" There wasn't a bump. It was really just, it just kind of looked like I ate a lot, nothing bigger than that. So yeah, that was a very interesting difference. And I heard that it's very common that for your subsequent pregnancies, you just show a lot faster. So I'm not too worried about that aspect, but definitely the weight gain, I need to kind of keep an eye on. So moving on finally to the similarities between these two pregnancies, there are a good number of similarities which I'm not surprised by. The first similarity is that between both pregnancies, I noticed that my food aversions and morning sickness started around about the same time. For me, it was about week 6 is when I noticed really the food aversions and morning sickness started to really hit. And then it started to subside around like week 10 and was pretty much gone by week 11 for me. I will say that I'm pretty fortunate in that my morning sickness is not very bad. I honestly have not thrown up a single time with both of my pregnancies. I do have some other issues that I was told is like not I mean, it's not too normal, but I mean, overall, what's normal when you're pregnant, right? Every woman delivers or experiences pregnancy differently than anyone else. It's such a very unique experience. But overall, I will say that between the two pregnancies, my nausea and morning sickness was about the same. Another thing was that some of my food aversions were similar. For instance, both times I had an aversion to water and chicken for some weird reason. Something about water was just so disgusting to me. It just thinking about water would make me want to throw up. It just kind of gave me that weird metallic taste in my mouth, and I would really struggle to drink a lot of water. So I'm not really like a juice or a soda person. I would have to like revert to that because it was kind of hard for me to drink water. And also regarding chicken, I don't know why I have such a food aversion to chicken. I'm not like a huge chicken lover even pre-pregnancy. If I were at a restaurant, I will like always reach for like a red meat, and if I do have chicken, it has to be cooked and prepared in the most unhealthy way possible, which is fried or just slathered with like cream sauce. Basically just cover all the chicken flavor for me to want to eat it. But both times I had an aversion to chicken. Overall health wise and just feeling how I'm feeling for both pregnancies, my exhaustion levels were, I would say it's about the same. The first time around, I was super exhausted because during that time, like I mentioned before, I was working during the week, and then on the weekends I would have to work overtime. We would do something that's called on call for all you doctors, nurses, clinicians, lab techs out there who work in healthcare and other industries. On call is something that's pretty much mandatory for us. We just get called in at random hours during the day, the night, and you're expected to be there for however many hours. So I was really tired. On my free time, I would be just napping. This time, because I changed jobs, same field but different jobs, so I don't have to work on call, I'm still just as tired because I have Caspian, my 18-month-old, who wants to play all the time when he's not napping, and he really loves having our attention and getting feedback from us. So it's not like he can independently play for a few hours. He really loves coming to us and like making sure that we play with him, which I think is so important to do so as well. So I'm definitely exhausted trying to keep up with his energy, so I do feel about similarly exhausted both times around. So just things that I've been doing differently this time around is that I'm really just trying to relax. Before, with my first pregnancy, I was just always researching anything pregnancy related, all the precautions of what I should and shouldn't be doing. I was researching just all the time, and so I ended up not eating a lot of deli meat. I pretty much only ate it like a handful of times, maybe 2 or 3 times. And then sushi, which I love, I kind of like really didn't eat as well because it's recommended to not eat raw fish. But this time around, when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, dang it, I'm craving sushi and I'm craving sandwiches. And with the okay from my doctor, I just ate it like all the time. I mean, sushi is not all the time, only because I don't crave that all the time, but deli meat and sandwiches I did. So I've been kind of relaxed about that this time around, but I was super strict with Caspian for not eating those things. With my second pregnancy, things seem to be moving a lot faster physically. Just my body overall is just changing and adapting to the pregnancy much quicker. And mentally and emotionally, of course, I'm just as excited as I was with my first pregnancy. I mean, bringing a new life into the world is exciting and intimidating as always. So I'm really, really excited. My husband is super excited. This is a journey that we did not expect because our second pregnancy was not planned, but we don't choose what happens in our life sometimes. It's all up to God. So, I mean, I'm just going for this ride that has happened to me and I'm going to take it step by step and see what happens. Thank you for staying with me this long so far. I really am excited to share more about this journey with you guys. If any of you are interested, I know that one of my videos regarding the Haakaa pump was very, very, very well received, as it was a little bit useful to many of you. So hopefully some of the videos I make regarding pregnancy will be interesting. I love reading and hearing about other parents' stories and their pregnancy journeys, and I just love comparing and seeing what we all go through because it's so interesting. Like I said, it's such a unique experience. I'm like reading on someone's story or listening to someone, I'm like, wow, like we are humans but just so different. I mean, that sounds so lame to say because it's so obvious, but I just love that aspect. And if you guys have any pregnancy stories to share, I would love to hear about them. If you had any major differences between your pregnancies and similarities, I would love to hear about them. It's so much fun to read on and so informative for us as well. So thank you for staying and watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!